morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? So, thank you again for coming at the WESC. Let's talk about what we have as updates for our core platforms, right? I mean, we heard Mark talk about production 4.0. We heard Kyle talk about production performance. So we'll give you a bit of updates on what's going to happen on each of our software platforms. But we also have new releases that are coming in terms of our products. So they're pretty cool, and we'll hear about that. But first, let's look at numbers, right? I just wanted to reiterate once these numbers. So what do these numbers signify? So 460,000. That's the total number of wells that our SCADA platform and our production optimization platform is currently installed on. 5 million is the total amount of barrels of oil per day that are being optimized today on a daily basis using our production optimization software. Our SCADA platform Signet is almost on 125,000 miles of pipeline. And combined together, we almost manage 30 billion data updates on a daily basis. Now, why am I showing you this? This is possible only because of your support. This is possible only because you are investing in our technology. So again, thank you very much for that. So let's talk about production 4.0. We said Weatherford is the core of Weatherford is production. We have a lot of domain experience and expertise in production. And some of the cool technologies that you heard about today from our partners, right, in Industry 4.0, where you talk about Internet of Things or advanced analytics and cloud and edge computing. We started this journey about 2 years back where we said, let's combine these together and create our vision of production 4.0 so that we can get you the best of both worlds and give you our production software and platform offerings. But the reason for doing that was not just because we had to create products. The reason for that was to really give you or create an impact on your production performance. This is what Kyle was talking about. And this is really where we're going as Weatherford as the solution provider. And we have a unique first mover advantage in that because we believe we have the technologies that go across the stack, right from SCADA to well modeling to production optimization. So let's talk about this journey of production 4.0 and how these technologies are implemented for our platforms. So first, let's talk about our favorite platform, Signet for SCADA. Now, over the past few years, as well as going forward, we are investing in a lot of effort in making Signet the next generation platform for communications, data, and control. We've made significant changes in Signet. When I was here last year at WESC, everybody told me, hey, you've talked a lot about ForeSite, but what about Signet? What are you going to do about it? And I said, 2018 will be the year of Signet, okay? And this is what I want to talk to you about, what we've done in Signet. The first major change that we've gotten is significant improvements in visualization. Now, we've been continuously developing Canvas, and we have Canvas ready to a level where you can improve your HMI deployment as well as design significantly. We've also created a version where you can implement Signet on an HTML5 version so that these can be shared across devices through any browser-based system. So in comparison, the screens that you see right now are developed using our legacy HMI, which was Studio. You can see that it's all about data. There's a huge level of data. There's a lot of data being thrown over there. But what has changed when we've done this with Canvas is that that data has transformed into information. Information so that you can make quick decisions. That's the key thing. So this is really where not only the paradigm of moving from data to information, but also using modern technology to develop or design these front-end HMI interfaces. Now, deploying and designing these interfaces using Canvas is much faster as compared to what you had in Studio. So that's a significant change. The second one that we had was we've had our operator mobile app on iOS. Now, for this year, we are releasing that on Android. So there was a significant amount of clients who came to us and said, hey, I need Signet mobile app on Android, and now we have support for that. The third thing was expansion into the pipeline segment. A lot of our pipeline customers said, hey, you're doing a lot of improvements on the production side. What are you going to do about on the pipeline side? And what we are doing now is we are collaborating with a consortium of our pipeline users and developing the next generation technologies as well as features. Features that include improved performance in terms of HMI as well as polling, and also going towards features such as control room management, for example. Now, in the pipeline space, we want to make sure that we align with your business needs, but we also want to make sure that we align with the PHMSA regulatory requirements. Okay? So now, that's not the only thing we are doing. We are doing significant changes with respect to improving SCADA, OPC EIE, as well as performance improvements in the measurement space. But the big change that has happened in Signet this year is that Signet is evolving. It's evolving to be an IoT platform. Now, what does that get you? What we are doing now is, in addition to all the protocol support for traditional SCADA, we have added support for IoT protocols such as MQTT, which not only enables secure transmission, but it enables instantaneous notifications. So as compared to a standard SCADA polling, where there is a lag in the way you can get data, with SCADA, with IoT now, you can get instantaneous notifications. It's not only about notifications, but it's also about how you can consume that data into other devices or other applications. For example, traditional SCADA works only through polling, whereas MQTT works in a subscribe and publish mechanism. So you can have multiple applications outside of your traditional SCADA platform who can subscribe to Signet and get that data into for further use as well. So that's the entrance, or that's the entry of Signet now, this year, into our production 4.0 story. Okay? So that's the big change. And we will be using this Signet IoT platform into multiple other innovations that we're bringing to the market now. The next one is ForeSite, our production optimization platform. We released ForeSite last year in about May of 2017, and the primary focus was on rod lift and optimizing rod lift, as well as we introduced predictive analytics using machine learning and a combination of physics-based algorithms to do preventative maintenance. In the past 1.5 years, we've come quite far, and I'll talk about what we've done so far. So the first key thing is production optimization. Now, production optimization and how you improve production as part of production performance. As I said earlier, we had support for rod lift, but as we've developed ForeSite now, we have support for many more kinds of lifts, such as gas lift, ESP, and by the end of the year, we will have support for plunger lift. We've also included support for naturally or free-flowing wells right now. And we will add the other lift types in 2019, pretty much to give you an entire portfolio of lift optimization done through ForeSite. The next thing we have done is we've made significant visualization improvements such that you can take a look at your asset and find opportunities for improvement, whether these can be seen through a dashboard mechanism or whether these can be seen through a GIS mechanism or a map view mechanism. Now, you can drill down from an asset down to the level of the well itself. The key part about ForeSite is not only can you monitor your wells, but you can control your wells from the back office. And this is possible because we have core integration of ForeSite with Signet. And we are building the support for integration of ForeSite with other SCADA applications as well, so that you can do both the monitoring as well as control. Now, surveillance is one part, but what about optimization? And optimization in ForeSite is possible only because you can integrate the real-time production data with the well models. Now, ForeSite is one of the only applications that you have today where you have the integration of real-time data and models. And not only can you have the models that are built using our technologies, but you can also import models from other third-party software vendors, such as the well models, the other well modeling technologies. And this optimization is applicable for all the kinds of lifts that I showed you earlier. Now, you can optimize at a well level, but in order to achieve the next level of optimization, you really need to integrate your well model with the surface network models. Now, today, with the release of ForeSite, you can have this integration possible with the surface network model. So you can look at the facility constraints, and then you can try to figure out what changes do I need to do in my well or the other set of wells that are part of my asset. Now, you can do all your optimization decisions, but in order to monetize those decisions, you really need to convert that into a standardized operations, which you can send as instructions to your field crew. Now, ForeSite has now a module called Field Services Manager where you can do that. You can standardize all these processes for field crew, and you can send them across directly to an app that they can use for implementing those actions. But the cool thing about this is that you can prioritize these field crew decisions. And you can prioritize these by doing an economic analysis of each of these actions, or, for example, any workover job that you have to do. So again, bringing in optimization, bringing in the well-level monitoring and control, bringing in the surface network, and then tying the economics together will get you the improved performance from a production improvement perspective. So that's one part of ForeSite. We talked about 4.0, and one of the key things that we said was, how can we get ForeSite and CygNet on the cloud? We partnered with Google, and now we are glad to announce that both the platforms, ForeSite and CygNet, are available on the cloud. Now, some of you may say, hey, but I always use it on-premise. I really don't care about the cloud, and which is fine. But a lot of you are also moving your IT systems to an internal or a private cloud. So the good news is that not only is ForeSite and CygNet available on the public cloud, but you can also have an implementation of ForeSite and CygNet on your own private clouds as well, if you go into that direction. Now, we talked about optimization, we talked about the cloud. Let's talk a bit about analytics. Right? Now, analytics is important in terms of reliability and failure management. Why? Because the first part, which we talked about, production improvement, helps build up your revenue. But this is really the key thing which helps reduce your costs. Right? Now, last year, we released a version for predictive analytics for rod lift. Right? And Jayant mentioned a lot of things about deep learning, and a lot of them are complex. But believe me, implementing those complex algorithms into a commercial system is much more complex than just looking at these equations, right? And hence, what we did was we combined those machine learning algorithms with physics-based models that we already have with the data from a bunch of our clients to make sure that these models will actually work in the production space. So that covered more of the subsurface failure management. Now, we are releasing the same module for ESP lifts by the end of the year. But just as we talk about subsurface failure management, a big part of failure management also happens above the surface. In the case of rod lift, for example, you have a lot of issues that can cause, because of wrist pin bearing wear, that can cause catastrophic failures to a pumping unit. And it can also cause safety issues to your personnel. Now, today, there is no technology that exists which can predict surface failures. We haven't developed anything yet. Most of the times, people have to go to the unit and look at it from a visual perspective. And that does not really give an answer. But at Weatherford, today, we have released a sensor technology that can predict the failures of surface pumping unit by looking at the wrist pin bearing failures. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to introduce you ForeSite Sense, which is our first entry of hardware into the production 4.0 world. So what does ForeSite Sense do? So this is a unique patented sensor that can look at the pumping units bearing failures, okay, and can predict a failure. Not only can it look at the wear and tear, but it can send alerts to ForeSite. It can also look at the imbalance of the pumping unit. Now, having a combination of these will really help you in doing preventative maintenance that will effectively reduce your costs as well as have an impact on the safety of your personnel. Now, this can be easily retrofit on any pumping unit out there in the world and it can interact with any automation system in the world. So this is not something which can just work for Weatherford pumping units, although we would love for you all to just buy our pumping units. Now, as I said, the key part of this is, how do you see this prediction of failure? Now, the prediction of failure can be seen through alerts that can come from ForeSite Sense straight into ForeSite. So with that, now ForeSite is the only platform which has a combination of both subsurface analytics and surface analytics to perform preventative maintenance, right? So again, like I said, this is the first entry of our hardware into the production 4.0 world. So we talked about Signet IoT, we talked about ForeSite, we talked about ForeSite Sense. Now, another big piece in the digital oilfield world is automation. And we've struggled a bit with automation as an industry per se, because there have been a lot of changes that have occurred from the software side. but we've never really implemented a lot of these changes on the controller side. And there are multiple reasons for it. The reasons could be legacy devices that are there in the market that have been implemented. You've already invested in those devices. So it's not a very easy way to switch to something new, right? But we are trying to think about what can be done. Now, if you look at the requirements of next generation automation, there are really 4 things that matter. The first part is data. You need a mechanism to acquire high-frequency data, and not only acquire that, but make it available for use, right? And that's one of the biggest hurdles that we face today, maybe because of the device capacity, as well as because of network limitations. The second part is the communication. You acquired the data, now how do I transfer it back in a secure way, and how do I transfer it back so that the important data that I need for my calculations is there at my fingertips, right? So you need some sort of an IoT-based notification mechanism, depending on the type of networks that you have. The third piece is really optimization. Now, we have a lot of optimization algorithms that do optimization in the back office, but what about these models on the field itself? Or as we define in the next technology term, having the models on the edge. That's a significant limitation in today's hardware, that we cannot have those today. And last but not least, from a control perspective, today the controller mechanism is very static in nature. For example, we set certain points and then we go away based on the configuration, right? You really do not change these points dynamically based on the changes in the well or in the reservoir. That's the other thing. So how do you fulfill these 4 requirements to get to the next generation automation? And when you think about it, to get to these 4 requirements, you need 3 products. One is you need an IoT gateway so that you can get the high-frequency data and transmit data through an IoT protocol. The second piece is optimization software. You really need these optimization engines on the edge at the controller level. And the third part is an autonomous controller, which can learn from these optimization engines and can do autonomous control. Now, we have been investing in products, and we're developing products in those 3 pieces. So Signet IoT, using Signet IoT, we've tried to create an IoT gateway. Using ForeSite, we've tried to put our optimization engines on the edge. And what we have done is we've upgraded our controller so it can make these autonomous decisions for you. But guys, the cool part is we merged all these 3 into one product. And that is ForeSite Edge. So ForeSite Edge. So ForeSite Edge is a revolutionary controller that's as compact as this. And it has all the elements that I just talked about, including the IoT gateway, the optimization models, as well as the controller. Now, we are releasing this product in Q1 of 2019. This product will come in 2 options. One, which has an inbuilt controller, and second, which can be hooked to any legacy controller that you have today operating your wells. That's the best part of it, because you do not have to upgrade your entire controller. You can just put ForeSite on the edge, and you can still get the next-gen automation that you're looking for. Now, let's look at some of these examples. I talked about high-frequency data storage. Take an example of a reciprocating rod lift. In the traditional scenario, a legacy controller can do only intermittent card storage to a level that you can have only about 1,200 cards per well. But using high-frequency data storage in ForeSite Edge, you can have more than 3.5 million cards for a particular well. Not only can you have this rich data, but because of this high-frequency data that's coming in, you can identify anomalies that may be happening in your well, right? That's the cool thing. So think about whenever you're doing a well review, or you're trying to understand why a failure occurred. If you have the power of this much amount of data in your hands, you can make a lot of better decisions. The second piece of data was about instant notifications. And I tried to explain, with ForeSite Edge, because it is working on IoT principles, as compared to SCADA polling, which may take a bit of time to get you the notification, because of IoT in ForeSite Edge, you can get instantaneous notifications. Now imagine if you could get this kind of instantaneous notification if it was something to do with a critical alert, if a well is shutting down. Right? And that's the cool thing about ForeSite Edge, that because of the IoT protocol and support, you will have instant notifications. The third part which I talked about is what's the benefit of having the optimization models on the edge. Now, one of the big issues that operators see quite a bit is slugging in the wells. Right? And the curve that you see is a standard curve that's been generated using traditional SCADA polling at the controller. Now, if you convert that using ForeSite Edge, you will see a lot of high-frequency data that's coming in. And because of the intelligent models of ForeSite on the edge, ForeSite Edge can immediately alert you that there is slugging going on in the well. Now, imagine if you had the power of that. That could save you a lot of equipment damage. So again, combining the high-frequency data, instantaneous polling, and the models of optimization and alerts of ForeSite on the edge is what you get as a benefit. And last but not least, I talked about autonomous control. Again, take an example of reciprocating rod lift. One of the key parameters that you always want to alter to get to that optimization level is your idle time. What happens in traditional controllers today is setting the idle time is very static. Right? So in cases when you have a lower level or a smaller idle time, you will get an overpumped situation. The overpumped situation leads to fluid pounding, and that effectively damages your equipment. On the other hand, if your idle time is a bit longer, then you are going to have an underpumped situation. Now, what happens because of that is you're going to leave a lot of production in the well. But with ForeSite, ForeSite Edge can dynamically adjust this particular idle time so you can actually reach a level of optimization and eliminate the underpumping as well as the overpumping scenarios. And that's the cool thing about ForeSite Edge. So when you think about ForeSite Edge, where can you visualize all these? Of course, it's ForeSite. So when you have the box, you have the software platform as well. So you can look at all the alerts as well as all the changes that are happening to your field within ForeSite itself. You can connect it directly to the device, or you can view it from the backend. So in summary, ForeSite Edge brings you the 4 key components that are required for the next generation automation: the data, the communication, the optimization, and control. And it's pretty revolutionary because I just showed you that it's a combination of 3 products into one: your gateway, your optimizer, and your controller. So in a sense, when you look at the summary of what I just gave you as an update, we have taken all of our technologies to the next level, into production 4.0. Signet is now evolving to become Signet IoT, part of production 4.0. ForeSite with advanced analytics is coming there already. And we've applied production 4.0 principles to our hardware. The first example was ForeSite Sense, where you get surface level analytics. And the next example was ForeSite Edge, where you get the next level of automation. So again, I would really like to thank you for attending the WESC. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to catch me downstairs. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the WESC. Thank you very much.